Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about making boxes for decks that have been trimmed and no longer fit their original box. So I've trimmed the Gypsy Palace Tarot. Also, I did find a way to go ahead and put numbers on those. I'm not sure if you can really see it here. I put numbers on the minor cards. Hopefully that's focusing. And I used these Staedtler pigment liner pens. I used the tiniest one, which is 0.05 millimeters, super, super small. And I don't expect that these will necessarily be permanent on cardstock, like forever. I mean, maybe they will rub off over time and I'll have to redo them, and that's okay. This was it's really hard to find a very fine line in an alcohol-based marker, and these I don't think are alcohol-based. They're permanent on paper, but cardstock is coated. And when I tested it, out on some of the cards, I took the title off. You know, once it had dried down, I blotted it with a little bit of tissue just to make sure there was, no wet ink on there, and it doesn't rub off. I'm not having any problems with it. So I went ahead and put numbers on all of the minors. So, I mean, just so I can tell what card I'm looking at. So now this beautiful deck will, go into my regular rotation. It's just fantastic. I just can't get over it. I'd put it away for a while, and the borders were just a bit much. And I saw someone else that had trimmed theirs, and I was like, ooh, I gotta do that because it's great. But now I need to make a box for the deck because I took off about 1 inch in height. So now and plus, quite a bit off the sides. So now it doesn't fit the box that it came in. So when I make boxes, I do a couple different things. I use a template, a tuck box template. So I just make tuck boxes. Some people make very elaborate, beautiful 2-part boxes, like 2-piece boxes. And I've seen just some amazing work that people have done making boxes on Facebook groups and Instagram and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I really just don't feel like I need something super fancy most of the time. I just need to be able to stack my decks in their cabinet. This is why I don't store them in bags. Like, I want to be able to kind of look and see what I have at a glance. So boxes are fine for me. Most of these decks, unless it's my travel deck, they don't leave the house, so they don't really need to be in something super sturdy. They're in a cabinet, basically, when they're not in use. So what I sometimes use is this is just scrapbook paper. And I'm not sure how this is going to look because there's a little bit of a sheen. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see the cover on this really well. I bought this many years ago, and it's just kind of a celestial themed stars. It's got some pages with glitter. I've used a lot of these over the years, but just suns and moons and whatnot. This particular pad had 48 sheets to start. It's not thick cardstock. It's scrapbook paper, basically. So it's thicker than, paper you would normally, like letter paper that you put in your printer, but it's not as heavy as a true cardstock. The other thing I sometimes use if I want something sturdier, this is 110-pound just white cardstock. But this is a little more involved to use because what I have to do, this won't go through my printer. Unfortunately, it's too thick to go through my printer. This will go through my printer, this thinner version. So if I'm going to use this, I have to print out the template onto regular letter paper and then cut it out, trace it onto here, and then cut it out. And then I'll sometimes decorate this after the fact once it's all put together. But the template is really fantastic because you basically just go to the web page, put in your deck measurements, decide if you want a glued bottom or if you want the bottom to be like a tuck piece like the top, I recommend to always use a glued bottom, much better. The cards don't catch when you're putting them back into the deck. I'm sorry, back into the box. So, you know, this is just an option, but I really don't tend to use that very much for the most part, unless I really feel I need something sturdier. I use this paper, which I like a lot. And what I can do is just cut it to 8.5 inches wide, and then I can just run it through the printer and put on the template right onto there. And then I can cut it out. The dotted lines are where you fold. Any solid lines are where you cut. And that's it. You cut it out, put it together, and let it dry, and you have a box. One thing I do like to do before I print onto this paper is I like to print a copy onto regular letter paper and cut it out and just sort of fold it and make sure, basically make sure I got the measurements correct. Because if you sort of put it together, and even though it's paper and it's really kind of flimsy, if you hold it, you can test and make sure the deck is going to fit, which is sort of what I do. Just kind of make sure that it looks okay. Do I have enough space on the sides and around to fit the deck in? And I do in this case, so that's just kind of a little extra thing. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and pause for a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out, and then I will show you just quick how I assemble it and how it looks when it's done. And I'm back. So box is cut out. You can see there's some little flaps cut in here for folding, etc. What I like to do before I fold everything up and start to glue the box is I like to go over these dotted lines and score them just a little bit, because it makes folding a lot easier. And I don't have a special, there are special tools for this if you work with, you know, paper and scrapbooking a lot, but I just use the edge of the scissor and I just go very lightly along the dotted line and just use a very light pressure and just give it a little bit like that. And then that way when you fold it, it just goes right into place, which is fantastic. And I've done the rest of the box. So I'll just fold it up. And then it's just a matter of gluing it together. And usually at this point, before I actually glue it, I usually test it out again just to make sure the deck is going to fit. But now you have something that actually looks like a box, which is great. And there we go. So that's all set. When I glue boxes, I used to just use like plain white kind of school glue. And what I find is with any type of cardstock or paper of any kind, when you use that glue, it kind of wrinkles the texture of the paper or the cardstock. Like the moisture, I think, in the glue just kind of causes a bunch of unevenness in the paper. This stuff I found is a no wrinkle glue. It has a very skinny point for, you know, very fine work, and then it has this much thicker point that you can squeeze out a lot more, you know, glue. And this just works really great because you don't have that problem with the wrinkling. So I just get a good amount on. This has got kind of like a sort of a spreader on it, so you can kind of get it spread out and even Make sure you get all the way into the corners and stuff like that. I don't want to use too much, so I usually will go past it, just kind of get rid of any excess, just so it's completely coated. And then, you know, this takes a few minutes to dry, not too long. And I just find that for me, it works a little bit better than the other types of glue. I have a lot less problems with it. The other thing I'll do is I'll take the handle of the scissors. I usually use smaller scissors. I'll take the handle of the scissors and go along the inside just to make sure that the paper is pressed down really well against the other layers of paper. So in this case, I'm using the blades of the scissors, but normally I use the handle of my small scissors and do that just to make sure you've got good contact all the way through and you're not going to have it popping up and coming apart as you go along. But this is going to take a little while to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and then once again I will be back to show you the completed item. And I'm back. So now I have a completed box. It's glued together, good to go. I've seen people, you know, put some pretty labels on them, or you can, you know, write the name on. You can really do kind of whatever you want. I really liked this one because it was sort of, has some glitter to it. I just thought that was really pretty. So now we'll put our deck in, and then we are, you know, good to go. It's usually, I find them to be a little snug at first, but then I kind of find that gets better a little bit as they're coming in and out of the box. That's it. That's all there is to it. So it's very simple. Like I said, I'll link the template in the description, and be back to do some other videos and other things in the near future. Thank you for dropping by my channel. I appreciate you. Have a great day.